Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Coin Studio. In the vast landscape of American coin collecting, certain coins rise above the rest, not because of their face value, not because of what they can buy, but because of what they represent. They become time capsules, frozen moments of our history etched in metal. And among these, first up, the 1964 accented hair Kennedy half-dollar stands tall, not just as a rare piece of numismatic art, but as a deeply emotional artifact tied to one of the most heartbreaking chapters in American memory. Let's go back to November 22nd, 1963. The sun was shining in Dallas, Texas, but the world went dark in an instant. President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and the nation was plunged into collective mourning. It was a moment that stopped the country in its tracks, and in the weeks that followed, the U.S. Mint found itself swept into a whirlwind of emotion and symbolism. The public wanted a tribute, a permanent memorial to the fallen president, not in granite or marble, but in every citizen's pocket. And so the Kennedy half-dollar was born. The coin was rushed into production, faster than almost any redesign in U.S. Mint history. In mere weeks, the Mint halted production of the Franklin half-dollar and pivoted entirely to the new design. It would be the first, and for many, the only, coin they'd ever remember carrying the face of President John F. Kennedy. The obverse was designed by Gilroy Roberts, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. He was already familiar with Kennedy's likeness, having sculpted his profile for the Kennedy Presidential Inaugural Medal just a few years earlier. The reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo, and it featured the presidential seal. Now, here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. During the early stages of proof coin production in 1964, Gilroy Roberts' original portrait of Kennedy was used on the obverse. In that version, Kennedy's hair above the ear was strongly textured, etched with bold, accented lines. That sharp detailing, that deep engraving of the hair, would later become the defining feature of what collectors now call the accented hair variety. But it didn't last long. According to several accounts, including recollections from Mint officials, First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy viewed the early proofs and objected. She reportedly thought the hair looked too tousled, too harsh. Whether her input alone led to the change is still debated among historians, but the result is not. The Mint modified the dye, softening the hairlines, especially those prominent streaks above the ear. The updated version became the standard for all future 1964 Kennedy proofs, and so the accented hair variety quietly slipped into history. With no announcement, no fanfare, just a few thousand had already been struck and distributed in proof sets before the change was made. The public didn't notice, but decades later, collectors did. So how can you tell if you have one? Identifying the accented hair Kennedy half-dollar is a thrilling process. You'll want a magnifying glass, patience, and a trained eye. The most obvious sign is, of course, the hair. On the accented hair version, look above Kennedy's ear. There are deep grooves, almost like brushstrokes, that stand out boldly. These lines are far more pronounced than on the standard proof. Another telltale sign is in the word liberty, specifically the letter I. On the accented hair version, the lower left serif of the I is missing. It's a small detail, but consistent and widely accepted as a diagnostic marker. There are no accented hair coins from circulation. You'll only find them in 1964 proof sets, which were sold by the Mint to collectors. Now let's talk rarity. In 1964, the U.S. Mint produced approximately 3.9 million proof Kennedy half-dollars. That sounds like a lot, but only a tiny fraction of those are the accented hair variety. Estimates vary, but most experts agree that no more than 1% to 3% of the total proofs were struck using the accented hair dyes. That means at best, around 40,000 to 100,000 coins. But survival rates tell another story. Many of those early sets were mishandled, broken up, or lost to time. Today, far fewer survive in pristine condition. And when you enter the upper echelon of coin grades, proof 67, 68, or even 69, the population drops off dramatically. Grading plays a major role in value. A standard accented hair in proof 63 or 64 might bring in $750 to $1,500, but jump to proof 66 or 67, and you're looking at $30,000 to $50,000. Then come the real treasures, accented hair proofs with cameo or deep cameo designations. These coins display stunning contrast between the frosted devices and the mirror-like fields, making them visually striking and highly sought after. A deep cameo accented hair in proof 68 can command $35,000 to $55,000 or even more at auction. The highest quality examples have broken the $70,000 mark. Let's take a moment to appreciate what that means. A $50 with a face value of just 50 cents, now commanding thousands because of a subtle design variation, a hair pattern, and a presidential legacy. It's the kind of story that reminds us why coin collecting is so captivating. Every detail matters. Every coin has a story. Collectors love the accented hair not just for its rarity, but for what it represents. It's the first Kennedy $50. It's a coin born from tragedy, revised out of respect, and preserved by those who value history. It's also the only Kennedy $50 that carries that specific obverse design. In essence, it's a one-year-only variety that exists purely due to timing and emotion. So how can you add one to your collection? Your best bet is to look for complete 1964 proof sets and inspect the $50. These sets were originally sold by the Mint in black cardboard boxes with a cellophane sleeve. But be careful. Many sellers mistakenly label regular Kennedy proofs as accented hair. Or worse, try to pass off altered coins as the real thing. That's why certification is crucial. Buy coins that have been graded and slabbed by reputable services like PCGS or NGC. Their labels will confirm whether you're looking at a true accented hair or not. It's also a good idea to study comparison photos. Once you know what to look for, it becomes easier to spot the differences. The hair detail is everything. It's what separates a $40 coin from a $4,000 one. And here's something else worth noting. While the accented hair gets all the attention, some of those early proof sets contain other anomalies. Double dyes, cameo reverses, and other minor variations can occasionally be found in these early coins. So even if you don't land the Holy Grail, there's still treasure to be found. In the end, the 1964 accented hair Kennedy $50 isn't just a collectible. It's a story, a moment of grief and tribute struck into silver. It's a coin that lives in the shadow of a nation's loss, and yet glimmers with beauty, artistry, and historical weight. If you're lucky enough to own one, you're holding more than just a rare variety. You're holding the first breath of a new chapter in American numismatics. And if you're still hunting, keep looking. Because one day, tucked in a proof set at a flea market or passed down in a dusty collection, you might just find that sharply sculpted hair and missing serif that sets this coin apart. And when you do, you'll know you've discovered not just a piece of silver, but a piece of history. Next up, 1930 Walking Liberty $50. When it comes to American coinage, there are few designs as beloved, as majestic, and as timeless as the Walking Liberty $50. Introduced in 1916 and struck until 1947, this coin is more than just a denomination, it's a work of art. And within the entire 31-year run of Walking Liberty halves, there is one Dayton Mint combination that stands out for its scarcity, elegance, and quiet mystique. That coin is the 1930 Walking Liberty $50. To truly understand why this coin is such a prize among collectors, we have to first appreciate the story behind the Walking Liberty series itself. Designed by the legendary sculptor Adolf Weinman, the Walking Liberty $50 was a dramatic shift away from the more conservative designs of earlier U.S. coinage. Weinman's obverse features Lady Liberty striding confidently toward the dawn of a new day, draped in the American flag, with her arm outstretched in a gesture of hope and freedom. Behind her, the sun rises on the horizon, its rays stretching upward, a visual metaphor for progress, optimism, and national pride. The reverse is equally stunning. A powerful bald eagle perched on a mountain crag, wings partially spread, its claws clutching the rocky outcrop with strength and dignity. There is no passive symbolism here. This is a coin that commands attention. Now enter the year 1938. The United States was still in the grips of the Great Depression. Unemployment remained high, and public confidence in the economy was only just beginning to recover. During this time, coin production was based almost entirely on need. Minting decisions weren't made for the sake of artistry or collectors, but on cold, hard demand. If the public wasn't spending $50, the mint wasn't making them. And in 1938, demand for $50 was at an all-time low. As a result, the Philadelphia Mint struck no $50 that year at all. Neither did the San Francisco Mint. Only the Denver Mint issued any Walking Liberty halves in 1938, and even then, in very limited numbers. The 1938 Walking Liberty $50 had a total mintage of just 491,600 coins. That's not just low. It's the second lowest mintage in the entire Walking Liberty series. Only the 1921D, with a mintage of just over 200,000, is rarer by the numbers. But here's the twist. While the 1921D is famous and fiercely hunted, the 1938D remains a bit of a sleeper, a coin that serious collectors recognize for its scarcity, but which still occasionally flies under the radar of newer hobbyists. And this coin has something else going for it. Eye appeal. The 1938D is known for sharp strikes and high-quality surfaces. Denver's minting standards in the late 1930s were generally very good, and many of the surviving specimens today still show incredible detail in Liberty's flowing gown. The flag's stripes and the eagle's feathers. This makes it an ideal candidate for high-grade collections, especially for those working on a complete set of Walking Liberty halves. Finding a 1938D in circulated condition is not terribly difficult, though prices even for those start at $10,000 or more. But once you cross into the realm of uncirculated coins, MS-60 and above, you begin to see just how special this issue is. Examples in MS-63 can fetch between $4,000 and $6,000. In MS-65, the value jumps significantly, well into the $10,000 to $15,000 range. And for those ultra-premium coins, graded MS-66 and MS-67, especially with CAC stickers or vibrant toning, auction results can soar above $40,000 or even $60,000. It's a classic example of how quality and rarity converge to drive collector demand. Now, here's an important nuance. The 1938D is the last Walking Liberty half-dollar struck until 1940. No half-dollars were minted at all in 1939. That makes the 1938D a sort of final chapter before a temporary pause in production, further enhancing its appeal to historians and collectors alike. It's a coin that marks the end of a decade, the end of an era, and perhaps, in some ways, the beginning of a transition into modern coinage. But collecting the 1938D isn't just about numbers or mint marks. It's about the emotional connection collectors feel with this coin. There's something hauntingly beautiful about Liberty striding forward in the midst of the Great Depression, while in reality, millions of Americans struggled to put food on the table. It's as if the coin was saying, "We will endure, we will rise again." That powerful symbolism, the resilience, the hope, the national pride, makes this coin more than silver. It makes it a statement. One fascinating aspect of the 1938D is how it performs as part of the broader Walking Liberty half-dollar set. If you're building a complete set by date and mint mark, the 1938D is one of the essential keys, along with the 1921 issues, the 1916S, and the 1933S. The 1938D is one of the most challenging and expensive pieces you'll need to hunt down. But unlike some of the earlier dates, many 1938D examples have survived in relatively high grades. That makes it one of the more rewarding keys, tough, but not impossible to find well struck and attractive. And let's talk about strike quality. While some Walking Liberty have suffer from soft strikes, particularly at the center of Liberty's gown and hand, the 1938D is generally considered one of the better struck issues. The Denver Mint used fresh dies and struck these coins carefully, likely because of the low production numbers. If you're fortunate enough to find one with booming luster and sharp detail, especially on the eagle's breast feathers and Liberty's sandal, you're looking at a textbook example of what this series is capable of. Now, the story of the 1938D doesn't end in dusty coin albums or behind glass cases. It continues today, on eBay, at coin shows, in auction houses, and in private collections across the country. Collectors still hunt for it, investors still recognize its potential, and numismatists still marvel at how a coin so small in number, struck during such a quiet year, could leave such a lasting impression. There's something magical about holding a 1938D in your hand. You can feel the weight, not just of the silver, but of the history. You can see the artistry, the care that went into its creation. And if you listen closely, maybe, just maybe, you can hear the whispers of 1938, the echoes of a nation between wars, on the edge of recovery, unaware of the challenges just ahead. So whether you're a seasoned collector completing a high-grade registry set, a historian fascinated by America's economic past, or simply someone who appreciates beauty struck in silver, the 1938 Walking Liberty half-dollar deserves your attention. It is more than a rarity. It is more than a collectible. It is a masterpiece. And like all great works of art, its value goes far beyond the price tag, because every time someone finds one, studies one, or adds one to their collection, they're not just preserving a coin, they're preserving a piece of America. Next up, 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar. In the world of coin collecting, there are some dates that don't just mark a year, they mark the beginning of a legacy. And 1916 is one of those rare and powerful milestones. It was the year the United States Mint introduced a brand new design for the half-dollar, one that would redefine the beauty of American coinage. That coin, the 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar. This was more than just a new coin. It was a bold artistic statement, a revolution in American coinage, a turning point in numismatic history. To fully understand the importance of the 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar, we have to go back a few years earlier. At the dawn of the 20th century, President Theodore Roosevelt began what he called a renaissance in U.S. coin design. He believed America's money should reflect its growing power and artistic potential. That movement led to a wave of iconic designs: the St. Gaudens double eagle, the Lincoln cent, the Buffalo nickel. And by 1915, the U.S. Mint turned its attention to the silver coins, the dime, quarter, and half-dollar. In 1916, the Barber coinage, named after its designer, Charles E. Barber, was finally retired after over 2 decades. It had served its purpose, but was considered outdated and uninspired. The Mint launched a competition to redesign all 3 silver denominations, and among the winners was a sculptor named Adolph A. Weinman. Weinman wasn't just any artist. He was a protege of Augustus St. Gaudens, the man behind the $20 double eagle, considered by many to be the most beautiful coin ever struck. So Weinman brought with him a deep understanding of classical form, movement, and elegance, and when he applied that vision to the half-dollar, he created a masterpiece that would be struck from 1916 to 1947, and beloved ever since. The obverse of the 1916 half-dollar is nothing short of breathtaking. Lady Liberty strides toward the rising sun, draped in the American flag. Her right arm is outstretched, beckoning toward a new dawn, a new future. In her left hand, she carries branches of laurel and oak, symbols of civil and military glory. Behind her, the sun's rays stretch across the horizon. The word liberty arches across the top, while the motto, "In God We Trust," rests just to the right of Liberty's flowing gown. This design wasn't just artistic, it was symbolic. In 1916, Europe was already engulfed in World War I. America stood on the sidelines, uncertain but watching. The nation needed inspiration, strength, and hope, and this coin delivered it in spades. The obverse portrayed an America not hiding, but walking boldly forward. It captured the spirit of progress, of peace and preparedness, of liberty in motion. Now flip the coin, and you'll find an equally powerful reverse. A majestic bald eagle perches on a mountain crag, wings partially spread, as if about to take flight. A mountain pine sapling grows from the rock, symbolizing America's enduring strength. It's a dynamic and balanced composition, naturalistic, but powerful. The words United States of America encircle the top with half-dollar below. When the 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar was first released, it stood out immediately. It was more than just currency, it was art. But it wasn't without its problems. The high-relief details, the fine lines in Liberty's gown and the eagle's feathers, were hard to strike cleanly. The Mint struggled to produce crisp, fully struck coins. That's part of the charm and the challenge for collectors today. Let's talk mint marks. The 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar was produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins bear no mint mark, while the Denver and San Francisco issues are marked with a small D or S on the reverse, below the E in United. Here's where it gets exciting. The 1916 Philadelphia issue had the highest mintage of the 3, with over 600,000 coins struck, still relatively low by modern standards. But the most common of the year, the 1916S, came in at just over 500,000. And then there's the 1916D, with a mintage of only 1,014,400, which would go on to become one of the keys to the entire series. But scarcity is only one piece of the puzzle. The condition of surviving coins is where the real hunt begins. The 1916 issues were heavily circulated. Finding high-grade examples, especially with full strike detail, is a challenge. Liberty's hand, her head, and the center of the eagle on the reverse are notorious for being weakly struck. A full strike with good luster and no major marks is a trophy in any collector's hands. In circulated grades, a 1916 half-dollar from Philadelphia might fetch anywhere from $500 to $1,500. Depending on the condition, a San Francisco issue might run a little higher, but in uncirculated condition, prices rise dramatically. A mint state 1916D can easily fetch $20,000 or more. Add attractive toning, full details, or a certified grade from PCGS or NGC, and you're looking at auction prices that can climb above $50,000. But beyond the price, beyond the grade, the 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar is cherished because it was the first, the start of a design that would span 3 decades. It laid the foundation for one of the most beloved series in U.S. numismatics. Collectors often talk about completing a full set of Walking Liberty halves, and the journey always begins here, with the 1916 coins. They represent the birth of a masterpiece, a new era, and a nation on the cusp of monumental change. 1916 was also a year of transition beyond coinage. America was changing, cities were growing, industry was booming, and World War I loomed just beyond the horizon. In that context, the 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar is more than just a coin. It's a portrait of the times. It captures the spirit of early 20th century America, ambitious, artistic, forward-looking, and grounded in timeless values. And that's what makes it so special. Every time you hold a 1916 Walking Liberty half-dollar, you're holding more than silver. You're holding a moment, a beginning. You're holding the start of what many call the most beautiful coin series America has ever produced. You're holding Lady Liberty's first step into a new era. Next up, 1920 1S Walking Liberty half-dollar. In the world of American coin collecting, few coins stir the imagination, challenge the collector, and capture history like the 1921 Walking Liberty half-dollar. This isn't just a rare coin. It's a key to one of the most celebrated series in U.S. coinage. It's a coin born in a moment of scarcity, a coin whose low mintage, delicate condition, and iconic design combine to make it one of the most coveted pieces in numismatics. This is the story of the 1921 Walking Liberty half-dollar. To understand the significance of this coin, we must first step back in time, back to the year 1921. America was in transition. The First World War had ended just a few years earlier. The nation was emerging from the influenza pandemic of 1918. The economy was uneven. Inflation had soared, followed by a sudden drop in production and employment. It was a time of post-war adjustment, uncertainty, and deep economic strain. And in the middle of this tumultuous moment, the United States Mint issued one of the smallest half-dollar mintages of the 20th century. The Walking Liberty half-dollar, designed by the legendary Adolph A. Weinman, had already been in production since 1916. Its design was widely praised then, and still is today, as one of the most beautiful in American history. On the obverse, Lady Liberty walks boldly toward the dawn, draped in the stars and stripes, an olive branch of peace in her hand. Behind her, the sun rises over the horizon. The reverse shows a majestic eagle, wings half spread, perched on a mountain crag, symbolizing vigilance and freedom. But in 1921, for the first time in several years, demand for half-dollars was low. The economy had contracted, and coinage needs were small. As a result, the Mint dramatically reduced production of Walking Liberty halves. And what they did produce, they struck at only 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Now here's where the story gets compelling. The 1921 struck at the San Francisco Mint, is the rarest of the 3. Its total mintage, a mere 548,000 coins. That number makes the 1921 not only the lowest mintage Walking Liberty half-dollar struck at the San Francisco Mint, but also one of the lowest mintages of the entire series, second only to the 1921 and 1921D. But scarcity alone doesn't tell the whole story. You see, the San Francisco Mint in the early 1920s was known for producing coins with weak strikes. And that's especially true for the 1921 half-dollar. Most examples were struck with worn dies or insufficient pressure. resulting in coins with flat or blurry detail, particularly in Lady Liberty's gown, her hand, and the eagle's feathers on the reverse. So not only are these coins rare, they're rarely found well struck. As a result, high-grade 1921s Walking Liberty halves, those in mint state condition, are extremely scarce. Even coins in fine or very fine condition are in strong demand and fetch high prices. Let's break down the value. In low circulated grades, good to very good, you might expect to pay $2,000 to $4,000, depending on eye appeal and wear. In fine to very fine condition, the price jumps significantly, anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000. Extremely fine coins can range from $15,000 to $30,000. AU about uncirculated examples. Now you're climbing well above $40,000. And mint state 1921s half dollars. That's where we enter elite territory. Only a handful of these coins have been graded MS64 or better by PCGS or NGC. In recent years, an MS64 example sold for over $80,000 at auction. That's right, $80,000 for a coin that, just decades ago, could have been found in circulation. But why are so few in high grade? Partly because of the weak strikes, but also because these coins saw heavy use. In 1921, every half dollar had buying power, equivalent to several dollars today. These coins circulated in everyday commerce. Most were worn down by the time anyone realized their significance. And unlike later decades, very few people in the 1920s were collecting half dollars by mint mark and year. Which brings us to the modern collector. If you're building a complete set of Walking Liberty half dollars, you'll quickly discover that the 1921s is one of the toughest coins to find, especially in nice condition. It is a key date, alongside the 1916s, the 1921, and the 1930-80. It's one of the essential pieces every serious collector must acquire. But even beyond set building, the 1921s has a mystique all its own. It's a coin that tells a story of a struggling economy, of minimal production, of the challenges of early 20th century minting. It's a coin that whispers of a forgotten era, when silver was real money, and the image of liberty walking into the future gave hope to a generation recovering from war. Think about it. This coin was struck when Babe Ruth was still a young star with the Yankees, when Warren G. Harding was president, when the radio was still a new invention, and flappers hadn't yet taken over the jazz scene. This coin has lived. It's passed through hands that shaped history. So whether you're a seasoned collector seeking a key date, a new numismatist learning the ropes, or simply someone who appreciates the art and history of American coinage, the 1921s Walking Liberty half dollar stands out as a crown jewel. It's not just rare, it's iconic. Not just valuable, but meaningful. And every time one is discovered, sold, or admired, we honor the story it carries. A silver coin, yes, but one worth far more than its weight in metal. Next up, 1919d Walking Liberty half dollar. In the vast, silver-swept landscapes of American numismatics, few coins shine with a story quite like this one. The year is 1919. World War I has ended, but the world is still healing. The Spanish flu pandemic continues to devastate millions. America is on the brink of roaring change, the beginning of the Jazz Age, prohibition, and a booming economy that would soon roar into the 1920s. And in the midst of all this, a small silver coin is struck in the Rocky Mountain foothills of Denver, one that would later become one of the most sought-after half dollars in American history. This is the story of the 1919d Walking Liberty half dollar, a coin of rarity, character, and understated power. To understand the 1919d, we have to begin with the series itself, the Walking Liberty half dollar, introduced in 1916 and designed by Adolph A. Weinman, a sculptor trained by none other than Augustus St. Gaudens. The Walking Liberty half dollar was, and still is, considered one of the most beautiful coins in U.S. history. On the obverse, Lady Liberty strides confidently toward the rising sun, her gown flowing in the wind, the American flag draped over her shoulders. Her right hand is extended in welcome, and her left arm holds branches of laurel and oak, symbols of civil and military strength. The reverse is just as powerful. A bald eagle, wings partially spread, stands proudly on a mountaintop, a pine sapling emerging from the rock below. Nature's resilience, a fitting metaphor for a nation climbing from war and sickness into a new chapter. This design wasn't just about aesthetics. It was symbolic. It told a story of progress, liberty, and renewal. And in 1919, those themes were especially poignant. The 1919 Walking Liberty half-dollar was minted at the Denver Mint, which bore the characteristic D mint mark on the reverse of the coin, just to the left of the mountain pine tree beneath the eagle. And while the mintage number might seem respectable on paper, 1,165,000 coins, don't be fooled, because survival in high grade is where the story gets serious. Why, let's explore. First, coins in 1919 were heavily circulated. After World War I, silver was in demand. Economic activity was picking up. People used half-dollars every day for groceries, train rides, wages, even savings. These weren't commemorative keepsakes. These were workhorse coins, used and spent in every corner of the American West. Second, the Denver Mint in this era had a reputation for producing coins with weak strikes. Whether it was due to worn dies, low striking pressure, or misalignment issues, the details of Lady Liberty's hand, head and gown, along with the eagle's breast feathers, often came out soft and indistinct. Even uncirculated coins from 1919 typically lack full detail. And third, few people in 1919 were saving coins by mint mark and date. Coin collecting wasn't the mass hobby it is today. Most of these coins simply wore out in circulation, were melted down for silver, or were lost over the decades. As a result, the 1919 Walking Liberty half-dollar has become one of the toughest dates in the series to find in high grade. It's not just a conditional rarity, it's a true semi-key date. Let's talk values. In good condition, you're looking at prices from $1,000 to $2,000. In fine to very fine, those numbers rise quickly, $3,000 to $8,000. In extremely fine condition, a 1919 can fetch $12,000 to $20,000. Coins graded U50 or higher often cross the $30,000 to $60,000 mark, depending on strike, luster, and eye appeal. And for the elite few examples that grade at MS63 or better, the sky's the limit. Some of the finest known examples have sold for $150,000 or more at auction. But what really drives collectors toward this coin isn't just the price. It's the challenge, the journey. It's the chase for a clean strike, for original luster, for a piece of history that has survived more than a century in near-pristine condition. It's one of the coins that makes assembling a complete Walking Liberty half-dollar set so rewarding and so difficult. The 1919 also serves as a lens into the broader world of American coinage. It's a reminder of the importance of context, that a coin's value isn't just in silver or rarity, but in the stories it carries. It carries the grit of post-war America, the strength of a design that dared to walk forward into a new era, and the wear and tear of millions of hands that used it, saved it, and eventually sought it. And then there's the thrill of the hunt. Maybe you're combing through estate sales, or maybe you're scanning auction listings, dreaming of spotting a softly toned AU example with a sharp strike. Maybe it's not just about collecting, it's about connecting with history. And the 1919 Walking Liberty half-dollar. It offers all of that and more. It's a coin that whispers of liberty through the smoke of factory stacks and the silence of war memorials. A coin that walked through the aftermath of a pandemic. Just like we have, a coin that tells us that art, history, and resilience are all part of the American story, etched in silver, passed from hand to hand. So next time you see a Walking Liberty half-dollar, flip it over, look for that tiny D mint mark. And if it reads 1919, take a breath. You're holding more than just a piece of silver. You're holding a rare chapter in American history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's most challenging and captivating coins, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Got a favorite Walking Liberty date, or a coin you want us to cover next? Let us know down below. Thanks for watching.